Today we're going to be talking about or taking notes on the effects of the French and Indian War. We already had the French and Indian War, and so now we're going to talk about what happened after the French and Indian War and how did it impact the colonists, the Indians, and the English. First, we're going to go ahead and write in this rectangle Pontiac's Rebellion. Pontiac is this person right here. He is our chief, the chief of the Indians who live in the Ohio River Valley, and his name is Chief Pontiac. The effect of the French and Indian War was that the French left the Ohio River Valley, so the colonists went across the Appalachians to claim the land. They already pushed the French out. Now the colonists can go in there and take the land, claim the land. Well, let's not forget the Native Americans are still there. They're still living in the Ohio River Valley, and they do not want the colonists to come in there. So Chief Pontiac is ready to push back those colonists. Native Americans are still there, and the Native Americans organized by Chief Pontiac to resist the colonists from taking their land. Chief Pontiac says, no, no. You're not coming into this land. Just because you push the French out, this is still our home. We still live here. The king had Parliament pass the Proclamation of 1763. This Proclamation of 1763 stated, colonists could not cross the Appalachians for new land. The king had debt to pay. Debt means money that you owe. So the king had debt to pay for the French and Indian War, and he could not afford to pay for another war. So he told the colonists, you guys stay over there in the original 13 colonies, and Chief Pontiac stays in the Ohio River Valley. The Appalachian Mountains will separate the two. No one will get into a fight, and everybody will be happy. So this picture represents the Proclamation of 1763 given by King George. Well, this was not a good thing for the colonists. The king did not trust the colonists not to cross the Appalachian Mountains for the land. So, in order to make sure that the colonists were following his Proclamation of 1763, he sent soldiers, also called redcoats, to make sure that they stayed in the original 13 colonies, to make sure they didn't go into the Appalachian Mountains or the Ohio River Valley. So not only did the king write his proclamation of 1763, he also put redcoats, who were the soldiers from England, in the colonies to make sure that they controlled the colonists. You are not allowed to go into those mountains. You are not allowed to go into the Ohio River Valley. The fifth effect of the French and Indian War in regards to Pontiac's rebellion is that the king could not afford to take care of all the soldiers that he put in the colonies. So he and Parliament is the governing body in England, passed the Quartering Act. This is a huge vocabulary word, the Quartering Act, which made the colonists house the soldiers in their homes. So that's why we have a picture of a house and a picture of a redcoat. The colonists are very upset about this. So the Quartering Act means that the colonists had to allow the soldiers to enter their homes. They had to feed them. They had to give them some place to sleep. If their uniforms were dirty, or if their uniforms needed some type of sewing or repair, then they would have to do it for them. The king was cheap. He wasn't going to pay for it. He was tired of spending money. So he made the colonists take care of the soldiers. The next 5 effects of the French and Indian War, we are going to write in this rectangle a need for revenue. This is revenue. Revenue is money. We need money that's coming in. When your parents go out and work, that means that they are out there getting revenue. They're getting paid. Money is coming in. Number 6 stands for Parliament passed the Sugar and Stamp Acts, which taxed the colonists in order to help pay for the debt for the French and Indian War. So he's putting a tax, just like you go across the street to 7-Eleven, and if you buy something at 7-Eleven, let's say a bag of chips. If you buy a bag of chips at 7-Eleven, there's a tax on it. If it says 99 cents, that means you need to make sure you have $1.07 because that bag of chips is going to be taxed. The sugar and the Stamp Acts were the same way. Anything that was sugar related had a tax. Anything that required a stamp, such as legal documents, also required a tax. So now the colonists had to pay for the redcoats to stay in their homes. They had to pay for them to eat. They had to accommodate them in whatever way that they wanted to. But now they're having to pay these taxes. So once again, the colonists were not happy. This was just something else that the king was doing to them without even asking them or giving them an opportunity to have an option to say yes or no. Okay, so after the Quartering Act, which had them putting the soldiers in their house, after the Sugar and Stamp Acts, number 7 is the colonists had no say in these taxes. So they called it taxation without representation. Give me the opportunity to have a say, and then maybe I'll be okay with getting taxed. But they wouldn't even give them the opportunity to represent the colonies in England, in Parliament. So they said, this is not fair. It's taxation without representation. The next one is the colonists were angry and they spoke out against Britain. Uh-oh, this is not good. You cannot speak out negatively against the king or against your mother country. That's not what you're supposed to do. One famous person named Patrick Henry, his famous quote says, "If this be treason, make the most of it." So treason means that I'm going against my mother country. I'm kind of like a backstabber. And he said, well, if speaking out against the mother country is treason, well then you know what, I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to even say and possibly do things that will be worth it. So this was Patrick Henry, his "If this be treason, make the most of it." Next, we have the colonists met at the Stamp Act Congress to discuss what to do about the taxes. So we've talked about another meeting place, which was called the Virginia House of Burgesses over in Jamestown, Virginia. And it was a place for representatives to meet from each of the colonies and to talk about the political things in the colonies. This is a meeting specifically for what was happening and what the king was doing to the colonists. That's why it's called the Stamp Act Congress. So the colonists met at the Stamp Act Congress. They sent representatives to represent each colony and to ask the question, hey, what are we going to do about this king and all of these taxes that he's putting on us and these soldiers? I'm sick and tired of these redcoats being in my home. What are we going to do about this situation? Well, the colonists decided to boycott British goods. Boycott means not to buy. So only buy American, only have goods made in America. Anything that was from Britain, from England, boycott it. Don't buy it. Well, of course, that's going to make the king even more angry because the king is all about money. It's not benefiting the mother country. The mother country is not building its treasury. That's mercantilism. So the colonists are going to buy any British goods, and this is going to make England and the king even more angry.